And welcome back to another episode of the Double Doink Podcast. My name is Brenden and Eric. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We're previewing Week 5. Bye weeks are finally here. Minnesota Vikings and New York Jets are heading into London. It's a fun week. Mr. Eric Ornsey, how you doing?
I'm good. You just hit me with the buys. Who's on buy other than your Eagles?
The Chargers.
Oh, Lions.
Lions and the Titans are on the bye this week. So
Okay.
Lions, Titans, Eagles, Chargers. Thank heavens the Eagles are on a bye. I have absolutely no interest in watching that football team play football right now. And we're 4 weeks in. You know what I mean? I'm my favorite team. I don't even want to watch play. And we're 4 weeks in. That's how my NFL season is going. I actually have Sunday off. We're going to be watching these games at the sports book. I cannot wait for Sunday. I've been looking forward to this day for quite a while. All right, the Davante Adams news I do want to get to. We'll talk about it when we get to the Raiders portion of this because that's the big news circling the NFL wagon this week. But let's dive into the games, Wardsy. The New York Jets and the Minnesota Vikings head into London. London calling. The Brits get their first game of the year. Minnesota Vikings 2.5-point favorites over Mr. Aaron Rodgers and his Jets. Wardsy, talk to me. What do you think?
All right, this is a bit risky, but I'm actually going to lock one in early across the pond. And I like the Minnesota Vikings minus 2.5 in this spot. And the reasoning being last week, the New York Jets put up 9 points versus the Broncos. But what was extra embarrassing about that to me was they played the week previous on Thursday. So they had 10 days to prepare for a Broncos team and were able to put up 9 points. Yes, I know there's weather, but it's not like the weather report just got announced on Sunday morning. Like, we knew there was going to be weather there. I really didn't like that game plan from Salah and Hackett on a 10-day period. Now you're going across the pond. You have travel involved, and you're playing a very well-coached team in the Minnesota Vikings. I'd say right now I have the Minnesota Vikings as the best coaching staff in the NFL with O'Connell and Flores. What they're doing on both sides of the ball is incredible, and that's where I see the massive, massive advantage in this game is the coaching. I think O'Connell runs circles around Salah, and Flores runs circles around Hackett. So it's across the pond. I'm a little bit worried. There's a little bit of rain in the forecast, and apparently this Tottenham Hotspurs stadium with some rain, the field can become a classic international crappy field, but I think Vikings are the way better team here. I'm going Vikings minus 2.5 and a little tinfoil hat here. Tell me if you think this is crazy. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to want this offense to struggle so he can go to management and say, give me Devon Adams. If he puts up 30 on the number one
so you think he's going to
defense,
so you think he's going to throw the game so that he can get Davante Adams? That's a little. I know.
I think he's gonna cap the offense at 17 points. If he puts up 30 points here and goes to management, give me Davante Adams, they're gonna say no, you don't need him. Puts up 17 and he says, hey, if I had Davante Adams, we win that football game. Management goes and gets him Davante Adams. I don't know. That's just my tinfoil hat. But the real edge here is the coaching. It's the coaching for me and why I'm on the Vikings minus 2.5.
I think he's going to be a New York Jet no matter what. Again, we'll talk about Davante Adams when we get to the Raiders section. They could score 50 points. He's going to be wearing green, in my opinion. You brought up the rain. I think that's going to be something. I was looking into it. I was going, there's going to be rain in England. It's what happens. So both teams are prepared for this. I was actually close of locking in the other side of this, to be honest. I didn't make it. I had 5 locks. This one was just off it. Aaron Rodgers has been very good against the blitz this year. 23-38 for 208 yards, 2 touchdowns. He gets the ball out at the 3rd highest rate in the NFL so far. Aaron Rodgers has seen it all. What was
his blitz numbers last week, Brenden?
Yeah, it was rough. Don't get me wrong, but the first 3 weeks he's been pretty good at it. And I also think that Rodgers has seen it all. If there's a quarterback that can kind of take advantage or play well against this Vikings defense, I do think it's Rodgers. And you know what? The Vikings are 4-0. I'm not fully buying it just yet. You know what? Like, I've seen some 3-0 teams, some 4-0 teams collapse. It happens all the time. Remember Ryan Fitzpatrick? He was the MVP of the year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that one year. Teams fall apart. The Vikings looked awful in the second half of last week's game. I think this is a great spot for the New York Jets, actually, so I'm going to push against you, but I didn't make my locks. But I see why you're on the Vikings bandwagon. Everyone is. I'm just not there yet.
Yeah, coaching.
Yeah, Nathaniel Hackett, buddy. Get your shit together. All right, Baltimore Ravens on the road against Cincinnati Bengals. Awesome football game. The Ravens are 2.5-point favorites against the Bengals. one of the crazier stats so far this year. The Baltimore Ravens, over the last 2 games, have outgained their opponents on the ground 545 to 132. They are bullying you on the ground. Lamar Jackson looks good on the ground right now. The offense is humming. And the problem with the Bengals is they can't stop the run. So will this continue, Warrensy? What do you think?
Yeah, normally when I look at AFC North matchups, my first inclination is to look at the under. But this is a game where that's out the window. The Bengals are a clear over team, in my opinion, right now. They arguably have the worst rush defense in the NFL. And Joe Burrow on the other side is a great quarterback still. So they're a straight over team. I was looking at the over, but it kind of missed the boat. This opened around 46. It got hammered, and the total moved up to 49. So it's kind of what Vegas is telling you. They think this is going to be a shootout. And I see it. Historically, the Bengals have had success versus the Ravens secondary. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins love playing the Ravens. But how are the Bengals going to get any stops here? Like, I would say the Bills are a way better defense than the Bengals right now. And the Bills couldn't get a stop. So how are the Bengals getting a stop here, Brenden?
I don't know, and I don't think Joe Burrow thinks they can either. I don't know if you saw this. I wrote this up at the Score last night. Joe Burrow said he has to play a damn near perfect game to win. I think that was, he said that to the media awards. It was a shot at his defense a little bit. Right? Yeah, exactly. He was being very honest. I took that as a shot to Lou Anarumo and his defense. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. You brought up the total aspect. This is one of the hardest games for me to predict. I'm going to take the Ravens minus 2.5, but I don't love it. This Bengals offense is still humming. They're 3rd in success rate right now, 4th in EPA per play. Can Lou Anarumo, he's seen this defense or this offense against the Ravens, right? Like if there's a defensive coordinator that knows how to stop Lamar or knows his tendencies, it's this man. But I just think the Ravens are a better team right now. Like I brought up the rushing stats, like outgaining your opponents on the ground by 432 or 413 yards, whatever it was over the last 2 games. It's truly insane to me. And Derrick Henry's leading the league in rushing. It sounds like they've kind of figured out how to get him going. So I'll take the Ravens minus 2.5, but I don't love it.
Yeah, I'm going to go Bengals just because historically these teams play games that come right down to the wire. So I like having the 2.5 in the bank. But I guess more than anything, I like the over.
Carolina Panthers on the road against your Chicago Bears. Warren to give me a Bears heat check. Caleb heat check. What do you think of your boys so far?
Well, this might come off as crazy, but I've already got 2 locks here. And I think the Bears are being disrespected with this line. I think this line should be over a touchdown, personally. Have you seen the Carolina Panthers injury report?
It's rough.
Their defense is missing everybody. So we know Derek Brown was lost for the year, and now their only good run stuffer, Shai Tuttle, is going to miss this game. Shaq Thompson has also been lost for likely the year, I believe. So
he's done for the year.
This front seven is just as banged up could be. My rule with the Bears right now is going to be really fade them when they're facing good pass rushes. I really am worried about the Bears' offensive line for the long haul. Carolina's pressure rate, bottom of the barrel.
Second lowest pressure rate in the NFL right now.
Exactly. So I think Caleb's going to have time in the pocket. I think they get whatever they want. And put it this way, I know Andy Dalton's revived this Carolina offense a bit, but they faced one of the worst defenses in the league, Cincinnati, last year and put up 24. I think they're playing one of the better defenses in the league this year, so he's going to put up less than 24. So all Caleb's got to do is put up about 24, and he covers this. So I like Bears here. I normally never bet on my favorite team, but when I looked at the spread, I was shocked. I genuinely think this spread should be a touchdown at the minimum.
So you're not worried about Andy Dalton revenge game against the Bears?
And if you look at the best way for Carolina Panthers to move the football this season's been Deontay Johnson. So we got a battle of the Johnsons on the outside, and I'm taking Jalen.
I like that. Deontay Johnson's in the midst of some trade rumors right now. He's been asked about it yesterday at the media. Yeah, there's he's on a 1-year deal. Teams need wide receivers. Panthers keep falling off. The Panthers are going to be sellers. Jadeveon Clowney, Deontay Johnson, watch out for those guys to potentially get moved. Canales was asked about it. Deontay Johnson was asked about it. He says he wants to stay. I'll believe it when I see it. I don't know if you really want to stick around this team right now. But Andy Dalton has injected some life into the team. But you brought up the defense, like I said, second lowest pressure rate. The Bears' defense is very interesting to me right now. Warrensy, in the second half of games, they have the third highest pressure rate in the NFL. First half of games, 28th. For some reason, this defense just comes absolutely alive when it matters most. The Panthers' offensive line has been pretty good at pass blocking, but I do think that they're going to have to push the ball deep down the field in the second half. The Bears are going to be able to kind of pin their ears back. I like what I saw from Caleb last week, too. He finished 7th in success rate on the weekend of all quarterbacks. He completed all 15 of his passes under 15 air yards. So remember we were talking about just get the easy buttons and get the layups going with his offense? They did that last week, and DeAndre Swift came alive as well. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from the Bears. I'm going to take the -3.5.
And I would say the Panthers and Rams defense are right among the same vein there. Not a lot of talent. Should be able to get a push up front and get the ground game going. And once that's going, opens things up for Caleb.
So you're locking it as one of your locks. You're already 2 out. I'm not going to
lock it. Yeah, we have 2 locks here. We're early.
So I like the -3.5, but not going to lock it in. All right. Fun game here, Warrensy. Miami Dolphins on the road against the New England Patriots. Just an absolute banger. The New England Patriots are favorites in the game right now. Can you believe it? It's true.
Wow. Well, going into the season, they were underdogs in all 17. So that's it's changed already by week 5. We got
Sportsbook saw that Monday night game, and they're like, "There's no way this Dolphins team could be a favorite." That was one of the grossest games I've ever watched. I don't know. Throw something my way. What do you think of this one?
This is not the lowest total of the week. We have a lower total coming in the 4 p.m. window, but 36.5 still feels a little high. I don't see how either offense moves the ball, specifically because of the O-line play. If you want to see some bad O-line play, this is the game to tune into. There really is not much up front for either of these offenses, and they don't even give their quarterbacks a chance, really. Snoop Huntley, I can't believe he was a Pro Bowler a couple of years ago. I just don't see it. You have these talented players in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in Miami, but you just can't find a way to get them the ball. Like it's a mess in Miami. I actually kind of feel bad for Mike McDaniel. I think he's a good coach. He looks like he's aged about 20 years in this season alone. Did you see his press conference yesterday?
Yeah. Oh, he looks exhausted.
Yeah, he looks like he hasn't slept in 4 weeks. But on the flip side, I'm not putting many hard-earned dollars on this Miami team either. I really don't like what they're doing up front. They're supposed to be able to run the ball. I don't know. If anything, I'd lean under 36 in this one.
What's the spread? You got to give me a pick here. It's for the show.
Yeah, I guess I'll take New England. I hate this game.
Let's go. Pat's his favorites. He's locking that in. I'll take the Dolphins plus 1.5. I absolutely have no idea. The Patriots offensive line is even more banged up now. David Andrews, they're basically their best player on the offense, is now done for the year. Gerard Mayo's throwing a press conference that he needs to start Antonio Gibson over Ramondre Stevenson. So it looks like we're getting Antonio Gibson as a start running back. I may have overhyped Jacoby Brissett this offseason. He looks terrible. I know he doesn't have a lot to work with. Man. I know. It's crazy to me that a team can't even put out their 3rd overall pick because they're worried he's going to get murdered. Like
so they just look at Jacoby and they're like, soak up those hits. Yeah.
Exactly. They're a hilarious football team. Both these teams are disasters, but I'll take the points plus 1.5.
Jacoby, I think Jacoby's a fine quarterback, but he doesn't have mobility, right? So behind this offensive line, it's just like, good luck, man. Like
he made some poor decisions in that 49ers game. I watched way too much of that one.
Hey, they actually I swear in that game they averaged like 3.7 yards per play, which was their highest output of the season.
3.7 yards per play is pretty bad. And if that was
but it was their highest of the season.
Yeah, he just that one like the pick 6 to Fred Warner was just a brutal toss.
Yeah, I just see him.
I don't know what to expect in this one, but I'll take the points. Let's stop talking about that. Okay.
Let's way too much time on this game.
We'll go to I think the game of the week here. The Buffalo Bills -1.5 point road favorites heading into Houston. Stephon Diggs playing his former team. He didn't have much to say about it in the media. I was expecting some stronger comments from Mr. Stephon, But what do you make of this one? This is a fun one.
So last Sunday night, Bills-Ravens, I'm getting ready for the game. I can't really decide who I like. Talking to you, I'm talking to my dad, and you both said the exact same thing. When are you ever going to get Josh Allen as an underdog again? Well,
that was literally why I locked in the Bills.
87 yards later, Derrick Henry said, good bet. But I just really am having a tough time getting a read on the Buffalo Bills this year. I do think they're an elite football team, but they've stepped up in class once this season and gotten their butts whooped. Houston, on the other hand, I'm kind of waiting for them to get right. I don't think Houston's played one full, complete 4-quarter great football game this year. Every single game this year, they've had a lack or a spell where they don't play well and they leave the door open for the other team. Bobby Slowick, supposed to be this young offensive mind, was getting head coaching thoughts in the offseason. He's still running the ball on first down every single time and getting 2 yards. It's really frustrating. Now, with that being said, maybe the early down runs against the Bills worked this time, as we saw the Ravens just completely bully the Bills up front. But this is a really tough game to handicap, in my opinion, because I don't know what version of what teams we're getting. I'm going to take Houston because they're at home, and I do think that they can exploit some things in the secondary, but there's always potential Josh Allen goes off in this spot and makes me look dumb. But I regret taking the Bills last week, so I'm fading them this week.
This is going to be my first lock of the week. I absolutely love the Bills in a bounce back spot here over the Texans. You brought up
quarterback off a loss is normally one of my favorite angles as well.
You brought up the Texans right now. This team is I said this last week getting into the Jags game. That's why I took the Jags plus 6.5. Jags ended up covering that game. The Texans, they had to crawl their way back. They were outperformed last week.
They were lucky to win that game.
Exactly, against an 0-3 Jags team.
Yeah,
the Jags blew it again. The Jags got the ball back with about 3 minutes left. Houston only had one timeout, and Doug Peterson decided to throw 3 passes. Yeah, the Jags blew it again. They should have won that game.
The Texans got let off the hook. Yeah,
exactly. So I think there's concerning problems concerning issues with the Texans offense right now. They're 22nd in offensive success rate. That can't happen. This team is too talented for that. They're also out. Joe Mixon and Dameon Pierce didn't practice on Wednesday. It looks like they're both going to miss this game. We saw what the Ravens could do on the run against the Bills. They kind of exposed maybe a little bit of a weakness in their defense. I don't trust the Houston Texans to take advantage of that in this one. You brought up a good quarterback off a bounce back spot. I think Josh Allen can take advantage of this Texas defense that is also not playing too hot right now. The Jags were able to push the ball down the field and kind of get some deep throws on them. And the Bills are lost Von Miller for 4 games. That's a tough blow. But Terrell Bernard's also coming back. I think I'm going back to I still think we're at the point right now in week 5 where I can look at my preseason takes and go, what I feel about them 4 weeks ago. Is it still right? I think the Buffalo Bills are still the best team in the AFC. I know that was a tough loss against the Baltimore Ravens. I get that, but tough spot for them. I probably should have realized that maybe there was a little bit of regression coming there, but I love this bounce back spot here. You only need 1.5 points, basically a pick 'em. So give me the Bills, lock it in, minus 1.5 over the Texans.
All right. You convinced me. I'm flipping over to the Bills. I did not feel good about either side, but you make some good points, and an elite quarterback off a loss is normally one of my favorite angles, so I got to follow that.
All right. Cleveland Browns on the road against the Washington Commanders. Warrensy, Nick Chubb, your boy, back at practice. Could he resurrect and save the Cleveland Browns season? What do you think?
Well, I just think Nick Chubb being back at practice must give this team at least some good vibes, because it's getting pretty grim around Cleveland right now, and now walking into town is the hottest team in the NFL, the hottest offense in the NFL, I should probably say. Jaden Daniels through 4 weeks just off the absolute charts. 82% completion percentage as a rookie is something I never thought I would say. 82% is just, it's mind-blowing. He's only got 1 turnover on the season.
They have more scoring drives than Jaden Daniels incompletions right now. Spectacular.
It's just remarkable. I mean, this is going to be their toughest test of the season from a defensive perspective in Cleveland. But if you look last season, the splits, Cleveland really struggled as a defense on the road last year. They did a lot of their heavy lifting at home. So I do kind of think that Washington's offense is going to have success again. And Cleveland should be getting back David Njoku this week. And this Washington defense is still very suspect. I was really alarmed by Arizona's game plan last week and lack of scoring, but I think that's going to be a blip in the radar. I do think that this is a straight over team. So my third lock of the week is over 44 in this ball game. I do think both offenses have success. I think Jane Daniels stays hot, and then Deshaun Watson chips in enough to cover over 44. Now remember, when betting totals, 44 is a key number. Like think of 3 in a point spread, 3.5. So this number right now is sitting at 44. I do think it's really important you get it at 44 and not 44.5.
Yeah, there's some sports books like FanDuel right now still has it at 43.5. So if you want to take that,
even better. Get that. Yeah. Grab it.
We'll take that for the show. I like that a lot. I actually think the Browns are gonna be able to score in this one as well. Washington's defense is still dead last in EPA per play. Even after kind of an impressive performance against the Cardinals. The Cardinals were without Trey McBride. Their offense just seemed disjointed. They got off to just a rough start. So, and the Commanders' offense right now, 53% offensive success rate right now. 53%. Warranty, is Cliff Kingsbury coaching his way to another head coaching job right now? Like, what's going on here?
I can't believe that it's week 5, and I'm saying, like, I really wish the Bears hired Cliff Kingsbury because they interviewed him twice. They interviewed Cliff Kingsbury twice, Kubiak twice, and we got Shane Waldron.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? The Bears offense took a step up. I still think it's way too early to say that Cliff Kingsbury is a better offensive coordinator than Shane Waldron. Jane Daniels, I think, is just playing out. I think it's more Daniels than Kingsbury here. I'm gonna be, maybe it's my surprise people. I'm gonna take the Cleveland Browns +3 here. One, this line seems fishy, right? Like, don't you think the Commanders should be a little higher spread? I think the sports books are kind of begging people to take the Commanders -3 here. And kind of back to our original, like when we talked about the first game, the Vikings and the Jets, I'm not fully bought in on the Commanders just yet. Like, they barely beat the Giants. The Cardinals win was impressive.
Oh, buddy,
the
they're
Bengals
coming
game,
into the link and beating the Eagles' ass.
It's like,
they're the best team in the NFC East.
It's 4 weeks. Everyone needs to chill out with their early bias. I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns. I actually think the Browns are going to win this football game outright over. This is my 5th game. This is my 5th game that I almost locked in. I think the Commanders' defense stinks. I think the Commanders come back down to earth a little bit. So I really like the Browns in the spot +3.
All right. I wish you luck.
Last game.
Lost to Vegas and the Giants, by the way.
Nick Chubb saving the day. The last game in the 1 o'clock window.
Nick Chubb.
The last game in the 1 o'clock window, we had Indianapolis Colts on the road against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags are -2.5 point favorites. The 0-4 Jacksonville Jaguars. It's been a tough go.
This is a really tough handicap right now because we think Anthony Richardson's going to play. We think Jonathan Taylor's going to play, but they're both dealing with Jonathan Taylor's got a high ankle sprain. Anthony Richardson's got the hip, so we aren't 100% sure if they're going to play, but this is another matchup where I was really close to taking the over. It's sitting at 46 right now, and the reason for that is I think that these two defensive coordinators, Ryan Nielsen and Gus Bradley, they're like long lost brothers because they both do the exact same thing, just one zone, one man. They both are the most vanilla defensive coordinators in the NFL. They just literally say to the other team, this is what I'm going to do. And it's borderline boring and basic. And I think both teams' offenses should be able to have success. Last year in these two matchups, Jacksonville put up 35 points both games against Indianapolis. So if Gus Bradley doesn't change anything, which he never does, I think Jacksonville's offense might actually get right finally this week. So it would have been my 4th or my 5th pick. It didn't make my top 3. I like the over here, and I like Jacksonville to get right. So I'm on the Jags.
John, you brought up Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson might not play. Sounds like the reporting on Taylor was like it's a high ankle sprain. He's going to be fine. He won't be out long. I feel like we get that all the time with running backs. We got that with Joe Mixon.
He has a sprain running back.
Exactly. He hasn't practiced. Joe Mixon hasn't practiced yet after basically the same reporting. So I don't expect Jonathan Taylor to play in this game. Anthony Richardson didn't practice on Wednesday. kind of sounds like it's going to be Joe Flacco in this game for the Colts. Anthony Richardson, he's still sore. This may be crazy. You know what? I might look like an idiot come Monday, but I'm going to lock in as my second lock the Jacksonville Jaguars -2.5.
I like it.
Warnsy, they have to win at some point, do they not? They have to win. They've got to get a game on the board here. And crazy trend in this game. The Colts haven't beat the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville since 2014. The Jags have won 9 straight home games against Indianapolis. For some reason, that's been the Colts boogeyman. And I think this is a great spot for the Jaguars offense to kind of push the ball down the field and get their passing game going. The Colts are 24th in dropback EPA. The secondary stinks. I think this is a good matchup for Jacksonville all around. You just got to get that hook at the 3. So I like the -2.5. I'm going to lock this in.
Yeah, I mean, it's a defense Jacksonville has seen many times. Gus Bradley is not changing anything, so I like the over more than I like the Jags, but I like both. They were both close to being locks for me.
All right, that's the 1 o'clock slate. We'll be back on the other side with the 4 o'clock and the night games.
The Double Doink Podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Life is hard. It's especially hard when you don't have someone you can open up to. Not everyone is comfortable talking to their friends and family about their personal matters or anything that is bothering them on a day-to-day basis. Mental health is so important to continued success in this world. Therapy is a great way to regroup and get everything off your chest. Insert BetterHelp. BetterHelp is the largest online therapy service, 100% online. They will match you with professional licensed therapists you can trust. You can talk with your therapist however you see fit, via text, phone call, or video chat. BetterHelp has successfully helped over 4 million people worldwide deal with their day-to-day mental health issues. Use the link in the podcast description to get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp.
And we're back on the Double Doink Podcast. We're going to finish off the 4 o'clock games and the night games in a fun Week 5. The Arizona Cardinals. My Arizona Cardinals. Come on, man. What's going on here? Just absolutely slobber knocked against the Washington Commanders. They're 7.5-point road dogs heading into San Francisco. I think my Cards propaganda is probably over. They're not the team I expected them to be. You actually made a good point in our group chat. You said the Washington Commanders are almost like what we thought the Arizona Cardinals were going to be. Fun quarterback, high-flying offense is going to be like top 3. Do you think they can cover 7.5 points against the flying high San Francisco 49ers?
I'm holding my nose. This is, at the end of the day, this is a division game. 7.5. I'm going back to the fundamentals. 7.5 division game. I'm going to take the points there. Do I feel great about it? No. I mean, this San Francisco offense that is missing Christian McCaffrey is still 5th in EPA on the season.
Yo, Jordan Mason's balling. He's playing really well.
Yeah, they look fine. I mean, if you look at their injuries that they've sustained so far this season, and then you take that 5th in EPA per play number, you say, wow, that's pretty darn good. Shanahan's got it going. But I just look at Arizona and the way that they lost that game last week at home. They were blitzed. They just were absolutely dummied. That kind of screams bounce back spot to me. I know you got the big bad wolf in your division in San Francisco, but I'm getting 7.5 here. I just expect a spirited effort from Arizona. And I do think we really underestimated last week the absence of Trey McBride. He should be back this year. Back this week. He got in a limited at practice yesterday. So as long as Trey McBride's back there, I feel like Arizona can move the ball enough and cover 7.5.
Yeah, I like the Cardinals here because of that hook. I think the 49ers probably win this game, but I think you get a nice amount of points here where you can comfortable taking the Cardinals. You brought up Trey McBride. He's going to be back this week. That's very important. He's a big part of their offense. He was second in targets leading up to that Week 4 game against the Commanders. The 49ers are allowing the 5th highest pressure rate, too. Like, maybe the Cardinals can finally get some Jonathan Gannon can scheme up some blitzes and get after Brock Purdy a little bit, but Purdy's playing really well right now. I think it's an underrated talking point of the season. He's 3rd in EPA per play. On offense, he's actually throwing into tight windows at the 2nd highest rate, so he's making difficult throws this year. He's getting out of the pocket, making plays. I don't know. I kind of like what I'm seeing from Purdy, but I do think the Cardinals can cover the 7.5 points. Don't love it, but give me the Cards in that, like you said, a divisional game where they can maybe keep this one close. All right, just a banger. The Las Vegas Raiders on the road against the Denver Broncos. Broncos 2.5-point favorites. Let's talk Devontae Adams. What do you make of this? It's been very fun to follow. Antonio Pierce liking an Instagram post saying that Devontae Adams playing his last game as a Raider. I don't know if you're a head coach, you should be liking Instagram posts about your players. Devontae Adams is a hamstring injury, quote unquote.
Yeah,
he's not playing in this game. Are you enjoying the Devontae Adams saga? Because I am.
Yeah, well, my thing with the Raiders, that's been going on basically for 3 to 4 years, is I really don't understand this team's direction. I didn't think it made sense for them to trade for Devontae Adams where they were. Then this offseason, they go out and spend some money, bring in Christian Wilkins and stuff, like they're trying to win now. With their quarterback as Gardner Minshew. Like, what are we doing here? If they trade Devontae Adams and start going in the direction of, hey, we're preparing for next year or the years after, I'll believe it. If they trade I've heard some talks of trading Devontae Adams for a player or something to try to help them still keep winning. Like, no, like, get some picks. If you get a first-round pick for Devontae Adams, I think you take it.
That's not going to happen.
The Las Vegas Raiders.
They're not getting a first-round pick. No chance. No chance.
I think teams are desperate right now, man.
I think they'd probably get a second and like a fifth or a fourth. Something like maybe that could accumulate to like a first round pick in the draft pick charts, but they're not getting a first round because Devontae Adams' contract's also a disaster. They have whoever trades for him has to extend him, so that's another kind of aspect of this. Unless you make a deal with the Raiders and you just go, you pay the remaining of the salary, we're only having him as a rental, but teams aren't giving up first round picks for rentals.
Then they wouldn't give up a first. For
exactly.
That, yeah.
So I think he's ultimately going to be a New York Jet. It's Ian Rappaport said this morning that he wants to play for the New York Jets. So Albert Breer also had a report last night that Devontae Adams is basically engineering a trade there. Like, he's telling his agent to basically tell teams, like, I want to be a Jet. Like, I know you want me, but I want to go play with Rodgers.
I don't know if I buy the Jets as much because he just did the thing where, hey, I'm going to a new team with an old quarterback. And then the quarterback left after 1 year.
Yeah, but he did say, like, there's reporting out that he wants to play with a quarterback he's familiar with. So that'd be Derek Carr and the Saints in the New York Jets in the Aaron Rodgers.
I know you're not going to like to hear this, but I would love to see him end up in Washington.
I think Washington and the Lions are two teams I would keep an eye out for. I think the Lions and Commanders could both use kind of that veteran wide receiver to kind of help their quarterback. Jameson Williams is playing really well, but the Lions would be, I think, the most ideal spot for him if he wants to go win. Just back on this game, though.
Washington, buddy. Send him to the NFC East.
Yeah, that would freak me out. Adam Peters, I don't know if
Darius Slay is going to be talking about him on his podcast.
Poor Slay. That guy is getting hate in the media, man. That guy's having a rough week.
Should be. Were you not furious with that?
I'm more furious with the fact he's allowing the third highest passer rating out of any quarterback in the NFL. That's my issue with Darius Slay. He can talk to whoever he fucking wants. He could have Nick Fuentes on his podcast. I could care less. As long as he's playing good football, then it doesn't matter to me, but he's not playing good football. That's my biggest issue with Darius Slay. That's my rant about it.
Good answer.
I think Eagles fans are looking at this the wrong way. Like, play better football. You can talk to whoever you want. I think in this game, I actually do like the Las Vegas Raiders. I like the Broncos as underdogs, but I don't like them as favorites. Bo Nix in this Broncos offense is terrible. He had -7 passing yards heading into the second half last week. I think the Raiders can keep this one within 2.5. I don't love it. Max Crosby didn't practice on Wednesday, but it sounds like they might be able to get him back. And Christian Wilkins and Adam Butler are playing really well in the interior, so I think they can just hold the Broncos, 10 points. Can the Raiders just get 13 or something like that? I think it's going to be an ugly, low-scoring, gross game.
Ugly game.
I'll take the underdog.
This is the game with the lowest total of the week at 36. And when you see a really low total like that, traditionally it does make me lean underdog, grab some points. But since it's under 3, because the spread did actually open as Denver -3.5, it's been bet through the key number. But now that it's on the other side of the 3, I'm going to take Denver here. Devontae Adams is out, so that leaves Jacoby Myers is really the only wide receiver option for
it's Trey Tucker season.
Vegas.
Trey Tucker.
Yeah, but guess who's right now the number 1 cornerback in the NFL is Patrick Surtain.
Mr. Patrick Surtain, yeah.
If he takes away Jacoby Myers, I do think Vegas is going to have a tough time moving the ball. I mean, this is going to be an ugly game anyways. It's going to be a lot of tough time moving the ball, but I'm going to take the Denver Broncos now that it's under the key number of 3.
The New York Giants on the road to play the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks are 6.5-point favorites. Warns you, the Seahawks had 38 first downs against the Detroit Lions. That's the most by a team in the last 10 years. That's the most for any team in NFL history in a loss. So kind of a wasted offensive performance there. Geno Smith's playing really damn well right now. He's second in success rate of all quarterbacks. He's making some tight throws. I like his pocket movement looks a lot better this season. He's able to kind of avoid pass rushers. He's not that pumpkin style that you always used to rip him on. He's able to kind of just avoid pass rushers, make throws downfield. I think Geno's playing at a very, very high level. Do you think the Seahawks can cover 6.5 points here?
Oh boy, was I impressed with Geno Smith on Monday. That was the first time watching Geno. I said, whoa, like he was making throws, making reads, knew when to tuck and run. Like it was a borderline flawless game, and they lost. Like it reminded me a lot of the Joe Burrow game against Washington, where the Bengals didn't punt either, and they lost. But basically, just one DK Metcalf fumble was the difference in that game.
Yeah,
and Geno had nothing to do with that. He was perfect, and I do think that actually speaks to Shane Waldron, that how good Geno Smith looks now that Shane Waldron's gone.
Shane Waldron catches strays on the doink.
Oh,
lately.
He's going to be catching strays all year. But I'm fully in on Geno Smith and the Seattle team right now. This injury report is going to be interesting to monitor because I know against the Lions, they were missing their whole front four, their whole defensive line. Hopefully they're getting some guys back this week because the New York Giants O-line is still soft, and that's where you can really exploit the Giants offense. So I'm drinking the Geno Kool-Aid. Give me Seattle -6.5.
Yeah, some of those Seahawks pass rushers and defensive linemen haven't practiced. So we'll see if Leonard Williams is the one guy, that has practice out of that group. So if they can get him back, that has some pass rush juice. Warren Z, here's a fun total trend for you. The New York Giants games, all 4 of them, have been under 40 points. This total's at 43.5 right now. So the Giants have been a under team to start the year. And Malik Neighbors is in concussion protocol. We'll see if he can play. 39% target share right now, the highest in the NFL. Yeah. It's Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson are nothing. The Giants offense is just basically 2 guys and pylons.
If you look at last year, how the concussion protocol went, if you remember early in the year, concussion protocol meant you were not playing the following week. Mm-hmm. As the year went on and playoff implications started to happen, if you remember, all of a sudden the concussion protocols started clearing a little early. But week 5, we're still early in the year. And it's a Thursday
night game too, right? So he has an extra few days to kind of clear the protocol because the Cowboys and Giants
it was. You're right. That does change everything, actually. Mm-hmm. So monitor that. But like last week, we saw Trey McBride in concussion protocol miss. I'm expecting Neighbors to miss, but if the Giants don't have Neighbors, they're not moving the ball.
Mm-hmm. The Seahawks are very good defense at stopping any throws over 15 yards. They rank second in success rate on those type of passes. Daniel Jones can't make those throws anyways. I actually think the Seahawks roll in this one. I like the -6.5 against the New York Giants. All right, Green Bay Packers 3-point road favorites against the Los Angeles Rams.
I got 2.5 here.
You got 2.5. What's the sportsbook updated right now? I still have -3. It actually
we'll go with 3.
We'll go with 3 for the sake of the show. And this is going to be my third lock. I like the Green Bay Packers a lot in this spot. Give me them road favorites -3. I think the Los Angeles Rams secondary.
You just said the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I'm taking the Green Bay Packers -3 over the Los Angeles Rams.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong game. My bad. I was looking at the Pittsburgh game. I was like, buddy, it's 2.5. What are you talking about? I forgot. Sorry. My bad.
So I'm taking the Green Bay Packers -3 against the Los Angeles Rams. Focus on the right game here. The Packers.
Sorry.
The Packers are the only team in the NFC North to lose a game. I liked them on a bounce back, or last week. I liked them on a bounce back spot here. The Packers have the second most rush yards on design runs this year. The Rams are 30th in rush success rate. Their run defense is atrocious, and the Rams secondary is terrible. Tre'Davious White is having an awful year so far. He's allowed 4 touchdowns. He's allowed 175 yards through the air, 140 passer rating. He's the worst cornerback right now in cover EPA. I think the Packers secondary could take advantage of him. And I really like Matt LaFleur as a coach right now. I think Jordan Love bounces back. I think LaFleur is the most underrated coach basically in the league. I think they can win this one by easily a touchdown. I like what the Rams are doing on offense. Don't get me wrong. They're still 4th in success rate, but I think the Packers are a far superior team with all these Ram injuries. So I like them in a road favorite situation here.
Yeah, I really like this spot for Green Bay as well. Coming off that loss where they laid an egg in the first half. I expect them to come out in the first half way more focused and prepared. And I noticed you mentioned this as a road game for them. I don't know. I'm expecting more green. I'm expecting more green in that crowd than blue and gold, because Rams, no fans. I'll call that fan base out.
It'll probably be 80% Packers fans. It's been like that basically any LA game. So I think
I really like the Packers offense on turf in a dome. It's more speed. These 4 wide receivers, get them out in space. I do really like that Packers pick.
All right, on to Sunday Night Football. The Dallas Cowboys on the road against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have 1.5 Steelers right now. The sportsbooks still say 1.5, so the spread is coming down a bit. The Cowboys are banged up. DeMarcus Lawrence on IR. Michael Parsons probably not going to play in this game. Brandon Cooks was officially ruled out in this game. He's dealing with a foot injury. So Jalen Tolbert, wide receiver 2 season. I thought Justin Fields played really well last week in that loss, but what do you make of this one?
Yeah, this isn't the sexiest Sunday Night Football matchup, but I'm looking forward to it because I think this game is going to be won in the trenches. And in a trench battle, give me Mike Tomlin and the Steelers here. I think that front seven is going to be able to get after Dak, and smart defensive mind like Tomlin. I hope he has a game plan to he's not Belichick, but I hope he does the Belichick-esque take away the other team's best player. That would be CeeDee Lamb. So not much of a heavy lean, but I do like Pittsburgh in the spot to bounce back and beat the Cowboys.
Yeah, the Cowboys, just injuries to key players. I don't know who's going to get after the passer without Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence. Mozzie Smith has yet to allocate a pressure in the interior. They just don't have anyone that can get after the quarterback.
And Pittsburgh should be able to run the ball.
Yeah, exactly. The
Dallas
Cowboys
hasn't done well versus the run.
They did well against the Giants, but the Giants just are a terrible rushing attack. The Giants last week had 23 design rushers for 27 yards. One of the worst rushing outlooks, basically, of any team that we'll see in a very long time. Yeah. But I do think the Pittsburgh Steelers can take advantage of that. I like the Steelers minus 1.5, but it's not going to be one of my locks. All right, New Orleans Saints on the road against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are 5.5 point favorites. Undefeated Chiefs, only 2 undefeated teams left. They're one of them with the Minnesota Vikings. Do you think the black and gold can take down the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah, I'm going to hold my nose here and take the points. I don't feel good about it, but Rashee Rice is now out. Sorry for anybody that backed me with the Chiefs last week. As soon as Rice went out, I was like, oh no, because the Chargers play a lot of zone. Rashee Rice is elite versus zone, so I thought mid-game that was going to be a hard injury to overcome. They did, but they were not able to cover. I don't know if the Chiefs offense can overcome all these injuries. You had Marquise Brown put on IR, Pacheco's on IR, Rice on IR. Kelsey's slowed down, man. He's not the same. Just the eye test could prove that. I know in the press conferences, Andy Reid keeps saying, oh, the other teams are game planning for Travis Kelce. That's half of it. The other half is Kelsey's lost a step. Let's call it what it is. The big injury here, though, is going to be Demario Davis. I'm going to put an asterisk beside this pick because I do think they need Demario Davis in order to slow down Travis Kelce. He hasn't practiced yet, but this is the Monday nighter, so the Wednesday injury report on a Monday, especially for a veteran, you can't really look too much into that. But I like the Saints to cover the points, but I'm holding my nose with it because it's a little stinky.
I like the Saints plus 5.5 here. I think this is a great spot to take the points. The Chiefs haven't been blowing teams out yet. The Chiefs offense is just lacking any deep threat. I know they had one to Xavier Worthy last week, but Mahomes is still averaging 5.4 air yards per attempt, at dead last in the NFL. I think the Chiefs are kind of due to lose a game. I actually don't mind the Saints money line here. Maybe if you're willing to take a swing here, I think this is a great matchup for the Saints defense. They're able to kind of slow down kind of high-flying guys. And Xavier Worthy, if you take him out, I don't think there's much else to it with the Chiefs offense right now, unless they kind of can get Travis Kelce going. I think that Rashee Rice injury is huge. I think they're going to need to go get a wide receiver. And I think this is going to be a game where the Chiefs fans are going to exactly. They look around and go, we need one. I really do think it's a big blow. So I like the Saints a lot. This was a game I was going to lock in, but it just missed out. So give me the Saints plus 5.5. Okay.
Demario Davis is a huge piece for that defense, though. So it's a tough handicap right now.
All right, Warrensy, why don't you relay your locks that we just gave out?
Alrighty, my locks of the week. I'm waking up early at 9:30. I know other people will be too, so get a little action on the Minnesota Vikings there, -2.5. Give me the Bears -3.5, and give me over 43.5 in Washington, Cleveland.
My 3 locks are the Buffalo Bills -1.5 on the road against the Texans, the Jacksonville Jaguars -2.5 against the Indianapolis Colts, and the Green Bay Packers -3 against the Los Angeles Rams. I'm on the favorites this week. I don't love it. I'm usually an underdog guy, but I think this week we do see some favorites start to finally cover. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Warriors and I will be back, of course, for week 6, and we will talk to you later.